Hi, and welcome back to my channel. Today I am making black beans. I have here two 16-ounce bags of Goya dried black beans. So these are fresh beans that I'm making from scratch, and I've washed and drained these beans. And I have a pot of water that has been boiling and is now ready. I'm going to add the beans to the pot of boiling water. Now, a quick tip. I used to prepare these beans differently in the past from how I do it now. In the past, I used to wash the beans and put them in cold water and bring the water to a boil with the beans in them. But I found that I can cut down maybe an hour of the cooking time if I actually boil the water first and then put the washed beans into the boiling water. So that's what I've done. That's what I'm doing today. And I am going to add them to the pot and then I'll be right back. So before I add the beans to the water, I just wanted to show you I have a stock pot here of boiling water, and I leave enough room for there to be about an inch away from the top, from the rim of the pot after I've added the beans. And that's to prevent boil over once the beans start to boil. Okay, so I'm going to add them to the pot and I'll be right back. So I have now added my beans, my dried beans, to the pot of water, and I do not add salt to the water at this time. I allow the beans to cook for about an hour, hour and a half, and when they are soft, that's when I add the salt, and that's to help the skin of the beans after they've been cooked to not be too firm. If you want your beans to be really firm after they're cooked, if you want them to hold together and to maintain their shape, the integrity of the skin, then I would suggest you add the water prior to the beans being cooked. So you would salt the water and then add the beans. But if you want your beans to be a little softer, technically, I guess a little more mushy, and if you don't mind if the skin breaks open and allows for some of the pulp to come out, which will thicken the broth for the beans once they've been cooked, then I would suggest you add the water after the beans have cooked and have started to soften up. Okay, so I will allow these to boil for about an hour and a half, and at that time I'll add my salt, my black pepper, and one large or a medium sized red onion. And that's it. That's all the seasoning that I use. And I will allow it to cook for about another 30 minutes to maybe an hour, depending on how thick I want the broth to be. So if I have a lot of water in the pot and I'd like it to be a lot soft, a lot thicker, I feel like the broth to not be too watery, then I might let it cook a little bit longer than 2 hours. And if I have just the right amount of water and beans are soft at 2 hours, then I can go ahead and turn it off at that time. All right, so I'll be back once it's time to add the salt, black pepper, and the onion. I'll actually come back a little bit before that just to give you a little check, give you a little view of what it looks like during the cooking process. So I'll do a quick check and then I'll go be back when it's time to add the onions. Okay, I'm back with a quick tip. So in order to prevent the pot from overflowing once it does start to boil, as you can see, it's boiling right now. I like to leave a little bit of the lid open right here. So what I would call a crack, see the opening? I leave it just enough for some steam to escape, and that helps the pot not to overflow when it starts to foam and boil. So you close it once everything starts to slow down. Okay, and the flame also should be turned down to a nice, like a medium low at this point once boiling starts. Prior to it boiling, when I first put the beans in, I have it at like a medium high with the lid slightly open. And once boiling starts and I get a nice bubbling on top, then I close the lid and turn it down to a medium low. Just a quick tip. I'm back, just checking in on my beans. So at about 30 minutes after boiling started, I gave it a nice stir and allowed it to come back to a boil. And you can see there's a nice vigorous bubbling happening there. So my flame Right now it's on the medium low, and as you can see, I still have a good amount of water in the pot, and we have a nice violent boil going on top here, which is perfect. That's what I want. I just gave it a stir in order to make sure that all the beans on the bottom, on top, everything is going to be cooked evenly. So that was about 30 minutes after the water started to boil that I opened it up and gave it a little check. And I'll be back maybe 30 more minutes. No, I think I'll give it another hour before I come back and check it again. By that time, the beans should be soft, and I'll be ready to add my onions and my salt and black pepper. Just kind of wanted you to see how it's going. Black beans are going to be delicious. This is actually one of my favorite dishes. Okay, I'll be back. Okay, so we're back. It's been a little over an hour and a half since I put my black beans on. They have been boiling, and I think they should be tender and ready for salt, black pepper, and my onions. So I'm going to give them a nice stir, chop my onions, and go ahead and add my seasoning, and we should be done within 30 minutes or so after that. I'll be back. I have here 2 small red onions that I am going to chop and add to my pot. Now, depending on how heavily you choose to season your beans, if you do decide to make this, I would suggest that you use more onions, as in these 2 small, or 1 medium or large size onions. If you don't have a lot of spices in the same way that I'm just using salt and black pepper, then I would suggest you use more onions just to help with flavoring. But if you're going to add paprika and cloves and any other spices, then you can just use 1 onion. Just a suggestion. I'll be back. Okay, so I have chopped my onions and I am about to add it into my pot. Now I have a quick correction that I want to make. I had said that my beans have been boiling for an hour and a half. Actually, it's been a little over 2 hours. And you can see that my water has decreased a bit here. So I'm going to give this a nice stir, and I might add some water depending on how much liquid is left in it after I add my, after I give it a stir and add my onions. Be back. So just wanted to give you an idea of how much liquid I have in the pot. You can see it's about 2 inches from the top now, whereas when I first put the beans in, it was about 1 inch from the top. So I've lost that water during the cooking process, and I think this is just perfect. I don't think I want to add any liquid. After my onions have cooked down, I think this is about the amount of liquid I would like. I might add about 1 cup now on second thought, only because I'm going to lose more liquid while my onions are being cooked, which will be for another 30 minutes or so. So maybe I'll add about 1 cup of water, because this is about the amount of liquid I like to have left when all is done. Okay, so I'll be back. So I have added my onions, my salt, and my black pepper. Steam is fogging up the camera. So I've added all of my ingredients to the beans, and now this will cook for another 30 minutes just to give my onions an opportunity to cook all the way through. And that's it. The beans, as you can see, well, I don't know if you can see, this is probably the best way to show you how soft the beans are. You see how they just completely mash out? Just want you to get another image. Okay, these beans are tender. They are fully and thoroughly cooked, and I'm just giving the onions an opportunity to cook through. I may actually turn this off at about 20 minutes of cooking and allow the residual cooking to happen with just heat, with the flame off, in order to finish cooking the onions. I'll see. Sometimes I take a look at around the 20-minute mark, and If my onions look like they're almost done, which means for me, the red color will have disappeared and the onions will be translucent. I won't see that red color anymore. That's about when I like to turn them off, and that's because I want, when I eat these beans, for my onions to just dissolve in my mouth. I don't want to be biting into any onions. I don't want to be chewing on any onions. I don't even want to notice that they're there. All I want my onions to do is to give their flavor to the beans and disappear. So that's why I give it about 30 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes, depending on how large I may have cut the onions and how much time they need to dissolve the way I would like them to. So that's it. I'm gonna give this, like I said, 20 minutes. I'll check on it because I chopped the onions rather small. My onion pieces, they're kind of small. So I may turn this off after 20 minutes and let it finish cooking with just the heat from the pot. And again, this dish, these beans have only 4 ingredients: the black beans, of course, my red onions, and salt and black pepper. That's it. Super easy to make, and I hope you do try it. I'll be back when this is all done.